Globalization of economic activity, okay? And the incredibly big shift of economic activity from what you might call the North and the West to the South and the East. Nigeria, obviously, the rise of Nigeria, but not just Nigeria, Brazil, India, China, South Africa, the things that are happening now in Eastern Europe are all an example of how a lot of economic activity is moved from the North and the West to the South and the East. Now it wants to go really fast. The second is what you might call the rise of information technology, right? My first job was in something called the computer room in my local electric utility company. A computer room was a giant room as big as this entire first floor of the conference room. It had these giant mainframe computers with big tape drives spitting out perforated pieces of paper. Most of you have never even seen these things. That was the state of the art, and all of it had less computing power than I hold in my hand today. And this is nothing compared to what's happening. Again, Richard Susskind, he's a futurist. He says that the average desktop computer, like the one that's running my PowerPoint right now, by 2050 will have more computing power than all of humanity combined. Now, I have no idea what that means, okay? But it must mean that the world we're going to live in is going to be radically different because of the speed and sophistication of information technology. The third big change is what I call the blurring together of traditional categories of organization and thought. That's a fancy academic way of saying things that we used to think of as being very separate and distinct, like law and business, or public and private, or global and local, are now much more mixed up and intertwined than they were before, right? Everybody knows now law is both a great profession, but it's also an increasingly competitive business. And if you don't understand the intersection between law and business, you're not going to be successful today. This is